Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program. You are watching Andrew Richter, the television show. Thank you so much for letting me into your home once again. You can catch me every Thursday night, 6 p.m., right here on Channel 19. Even if you see a few DFLers behind me, know that you always have a half hour here for this show. Now, I want you to think, folks, 1984. What happened in 1984? Bruce Springsteen came out with Born in the USA. Hulk Hogan won the WWE title for the first time. The Detroit Tigers won the World Series. Ronald Reagan won every state except what one again? Yeah, Minnesota? Yeah, I forgot. And CNN, believe it or not, actually reported news back in 1984. But also what happened was Ann Rest got elected to the state legislature back in 1984, and I want to introduce you to somebody who wants to throw Ann a nice retirement party this year, Mr. Nick Petersen of New Hope. Nick, welcome
Andrew,
to the show.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell the #1 rated audience in Northwest Community TV who you are and why you're running for this Senate seat.
Absolutely, Andrew. Well, again, my name is Nick Petersen. I hopped in the race just kind of sitting on the sidelines, looking at what was happening nationally. You know, the nearly $1 trillion spent within the first 2 months of office, and it's got to stop. You know, I'm looking at my daughter's future, and you know, right now our share of the national debt is roughly $45,000 a piece, and it seems to be about tenfold increasing throughout every generation. And at this rate, we're looking at my daughter having about a $450,000 share of the debt. So looking nationally, I want to make sure my daughter has a future. Locally here, state-wise, I just want to make sure that you know, we're creating a business-friendly environment for the state, so businesses can stay, so they can hire. I'd like to have our taxes lower so we can afford to spend money again and really get this economy rolling. Just, you know, a combination of things, but that's the primary reason why I decided to hop in the race.
Cool, a lot of taxing and spending. Well, let me jump right into it. You know, the last couple of years we had the failure to reach a budget agreement in 2009. We had the unallotment. We had the court decision that said Plenty couldn't do that. Then they kind of just tidied it up and kicked the can to
the political punt.
Yeah, the next biennium where the deficit is projected, what the bureaucrats want to spend, is way out there. Let me just ask this. I mean, what do you think of that and the performance? I can't imagine you think it's too high, but what do you think, just as a citizen and a taxpayer, what do you think of your government's performance the last couple of years?
A letter grade F. Absolutely F. Absolutely. A bright shot in all this is, you know, the governor has held the line on taxes. You know, he has kept his promise to, you know, keep taxes within the realm of affordability. He's not increased them, which is, I just shudder to think if we had a DFL governor, what our tax rate would be, what our unemployment rate would be, which would be higher, by the way. Just kind of looking at, you know, the future going forward. We're looking at a 10% increase in revenues for the next biennium, which is fantastic. The problem is we're looking at a 24% increase in spending. And I think a lot of these programs are kind of on autopilot as far as spending goes. But what we need to do is we need to get into these individual programs and we need to ask the questions, why are these things on autopilot? Why can't we do zero-based budgeting? Why can't we, I don't know, a simple idea like base our spending on what our receipts are going to be? So things like that, common sense solutions, I would think. But bottom line is we cannot keep spending the way we're doing this, and we cannot keep taxing people. You know, we're going to the taxpayer well, and that well is dry.
Yeah, I know my well is dry. And
As is mine.
Hope the city of Crystal and District 281 are listening when I say that. Let me jump right into what I think is going to be the most important issue, and that's jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the unemployment rate, the private sector unemployment rate in Minnesota is still really high. I'm old enough to remember when Cargill, Target, 3M, you know, they were the engines of the TCF, which we just chased out of the state, Twin Cities Federal, when they were the engines of Minnesota's economy. Now the government is the largest employer here in Minnesota. How do we start to reverse that trend? I mean, what do we do to increase and really boom the private sector economy here in Minnesota?
The thought is, especially with our DFL counterparts, is they want to create jobs, which in and of itself is not a bad notion, a bad thing to run on. The problem is when you're creating jobs, the government creating jobs, you're taxing me, you're taxing you, to have money to pay the salaries for these jobs, not to mention the glorious benefits packages that come with it. But when it's a matter of creating jobs versus creating that business-friendly environment. And that business-friendly environment is counter to what our DFLers like to say. It is reducing taxes, and it's reducing these unnecessary regulations that businesses face that increase their costs. So we need to eliminate some of these redundant and unnecessary regulations. We need to lower the business taxes. We need to make that, that's going to help to create this business-friendly environment. More businesses that have more money, they can in turn use that money to either hire more people or reinvest in their business. But that's how we're going to get that business-friendly environment. That's how we're going to get jobs to grow private sectorly, is to implement a couple of those ideas.
Cool. Private sectorly, is that a word? Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. No, that's
now.
It's like Warren Harding said, a return to normalcy. Wasn't that his in 1920?
I use that word all the time.
Yeah,
I don't know
normalcy.
if it's a good word or not.
Okay, well, you touched on taxes a lot, which, the states that seem to tax and spend the most seem to have the biggest deficits right now. I mean, if that were the answer, California should have a huge surplus. A lot of people on our side talk about lower taxes, and we got to lower taxes. What taxes do you really think are high in Minnesota? I mean, what kind of taxes would you prioritize lowering in January when you get there?
Sure. Our business taxes, I believe it's 9.8%, and that is, I think that's fourth highest in the nation. So that tax definitely needs to be cut. We're looking at our income taxes. We have 3 income tax rates right now. Our highest income tax rate for the richest of the rich, which I believe starts at $132,000, which is right,
which is a nurse married to a policeman, maybe.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You figured the
Yeah.
scenario,
Yeah.
but that's about I think it's 7.85%, and that is one of the highest too in the nation. So what we need to do is we need to reduce those. Those are the easy ones to reduce, and I'm not saying we need to reduce those by a 0.1%. They need to be drastically reduced. The idea behind that is our economy is consumer spending is driving our economy, not government spending, consumer spending. So the more money you and I have in our pockets, the more money we spend at the local grocery store, the local
the local bar,
what local establishments,
Yeah.
what have you. Those in turn, that helps create that tax base for the local communities. So by reducing the individual's tax rates. And in fact, I had a friend of mine who he and his wife combined paid over $40,000 in taxes last year. So if we cut that, let's just say we cut that rate in half, that's $20,000 more of disposable income they have. And that's a heck of a lot of money they can reinvest in their, they could remodel, they could buy a new car, they could spend more money at the grocery store. But that's the kind of solutions that we need, and that's what's really going to drive this economy and turn it around.